Hello and welcome. This is the Harboring Light. This is Mary. Alright, so I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. Feedback is immensely important. Feel free to reach out to me. Okay, so 2 ways to do this is first through email and then again through YouTube. Alright, so feedback is immensely important. I can't stress enough. Let me know how you feel. Okay, so word of mouth is also important too. So feel free to let people know about the Harboring Light. Be greatly appreciated. Now on to the topic of choice here. Now since it's Friday, I'm keeping it current here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my thoughts about the aspects of the show that has recently come out called I don't know why I want to say another word, but hold on, let me look it up right quick because I'm gonna hold on just a minute, make sure I'm saying it right here. Stuart, because I was gonna say something else, but anyway, Stuart Fails to Save the Universe. All right, here we go. Alright, so Stuart Fails to Save the Universe is supposed to be a continuation of the Big Bang and all of that. With Chuck Lauer with his creation, right? And everybody else that was involved with that. And Chuck Law has a whole universe within itself with the aspects of he has been just a proprietor of so many different shows launched so many different sitcoms on CBS. You could say he's the CBS situational comedy man. You know, coin him as that phrase. You get to shows like let's start out with 2.5 Men, and then you got Mom, and then you got flipping Mike and Molly. You got Bob loves Episode loves I'm not sure about that show because I'm not, but let me see. Let me look it up. Hold on. I'll see. Abasola or something like that. I believe that's the pronunciation. But yeah. So, it's universe within itself. It's quite interesting because of the aspects that inadvertently, which is probably the whole, money grab here and then, setting up the aspects of what we see now with a lot of people getting in with, fan theories where, it makes sense to have fan theories for, sitcoms and things that aren't real. But when you get in the aspects of having fan theories for things that are real in everyday life, that's when you're like, hey man, maybe you should be somewhere with a tinfoil hat. Okay, it's like that's weird when you don't know the difference. Don't be doing that. So anyway, so it makes a lot of sense to have it to where, it's literally saying he's saving the universe, right? So, with Big Bang Theory, it was very interesting when that show first initially launched because before then, it was traction was becoming really, really in favor for quote unquote nerd culture, right? So, you saw where people were being more entertaining towards, comics, um, sci-fi. What really helped us a lot, I would say, is in between, what you get with the Batman, different movies, and then also what helped that a lot was the Star Trek Next Generation. Helped that a lot with making it more digestible, I guess you can say, with the aspects of having mass appeal with science fiction things. Stargate really wiped the map with that, because that was very universally appealing for people. And yeah, so it was gaining a lot of traction, right? Okay, so then when the Big Bang Theory came along, when the show came along, it really just went gangbusters, because even though it was relved in so much stereotypes, right, to where it was like lowbrow sort of perspectives about everything, it was still that there was a lot of especially when we get into the aspects of season 3, 4, around there, and then midpoint it started to fall off, and then that. Okay, it was this give and take about the reality situation of what it's like with emerging with popular culture, and then clashing with science fiction, and then having to delve deep into, look, there's more to it than that. Not this whole thing of arcing itself together. And so when Stuart comes along, Stuart is sort of like set up in the series, the Big Bang series that it have you, where he's like a gatekeeper between the two worlds of what Leonard, Sheldon, Rajesh, Howard, with their world, right? And then everyday, people, popular people, whatever you want to label that as, right? And then making that come together. And then when you get with Penny is, she represented the aspects of what could be, where, of the hopes and the possibilities of, that is something grounds in the reality of someone who is extremely popular, classically good looking, very, bubbly, very personable, right? And to where, it is a strong possibility that, people can have different ideas, even though they're you sort of that idea of, you don't judge a book by its cover, and people can change, right? This art. And so Stuart was merging himself along, and with the series, with just steady fast doing that, like in the beginning of the series, right? And then towards the end of the series, he was there because it falled off to where, it didn't really work out for his comic book store. He had to, rehash himself as a, different person, find his path, find his way, and so forth. And then when it went in the ebbs and flows of a lot of different, arcs and revelations for these characters to experience in the Big Bang Theory. Now, here are my issues with this new show. Now, unfortunately, this is the part of the problem. This is a really good example of why so many people are just turning a deaf ear, or just not really wanting to pay attention, right? Or just, pretty much phased out of things that are being crafted as new out here in the world of entertainment. Nobody wants to take, in the entertainment world, a real big risk on anything. Now, when I was growing up, it was insane when you look back at it, at how much people were willing to take risk, right? Now, there's something to be said about the aspects of not reinventing the wheel, but retelling the way that the story of something is, right? Now, that's leading us to say that's vastly different than just, okay, so we saw what you did with that wheel, and we want to do it again because it's safe. Because that's just been the notion time and time again that we see now. People just doing whatever is safe, or getting into the enabling the perpetual state of nostalgia, right? Now, when you enable that can be a problem, because nostalgia serves its purpose. But when you purposely set up a whole bunch of quote-unquote new material, new entertainment venues or sectors that say, oh, look, you remember this, you remember that, hey, here it is, data with the new generation, but hey, you, look, this is pertaining to you. You don't necessarily get out of that state of funk of, hey, that's where you used to be. And you always stay in this perpetual funk of, that's what you used to be. You don't really, and so there's no real milestones of shows to reflect momentum. Now, there's something to also be said about the aspects of art imitating life, right? So that's what is another thing here to look at, that, the aspects of, art imitating life, to where is it if there's no foundation to imitate, right? There's just a blank. There's just weird mob of what has already happened. So you're just stuck there looking blankly at something where it becomes strange, to where, you yourself have to invent something, a fourth wall, to make it bearable to see something that you've already seen, right? Okay, so getting back to when I was growing up. Now, I'm a 90s kid, okay? And so, in the 90s, hey, you got so many different gems, right? For instance, I think on top of a whole bunch of stuff that was going on, you got, like The Matrix, for instance. That was not well received. That took a lot of real interest from people to get that going. And there you go. And then I remember the first time, it's about 11 or so, right? And so it was one of those things, y'all know what I'm talking about. When you're growing up, you see stuff, you're like, and when in the summer, And like you know, depending on, parental guidance or what have you, it still happens. My parents weren't the best, but even when you have really good parents, still, curiosity comes to you, with those who can speak on, parents who are the best, like me and my husband, we're so lucky that we are parents, because we really value the gift that God has given us to be parents, and we will be those really good parents. But let's be honest, let's be real. Kids are just gonna be kids, right? So anyway, make a long story short, I saw this movie, Run Lola Run, okay? And then, movies, before this is really not a tangent, but like Guy Ritchie movies and Quentin Tarantino came out, all that. But getting back to a movie like Run Lola Run. Now this was a German film, and it was really something else when I first saw it, because it was one of those things that, and then it's insane. I don't mean to keep saying insane, but really it was like, it took you on a journey, because and then when you see this when you are actually an adult, and then you like in your 20s, like if you see this when you're in your 20s versus your 30s versus your this versus your that, like if you just go back and revisit this movie, it's trippy. But anyway, so I saw it initially at 11, and then I saw it again around 22, okay? So, for those who don't know what this movie is, and for those who do, it's kind of easy to know about it, because there's been a lot of pop cultural reference to it, where essentially I'll set it like this, and you'll see what I'm talking about, because The Simpsons at one point in time, which that's another thing, like I don't understand why The Simpsons is still going on. Like it's one of those things where it's like a cash grab, and then also they try to say, oh well, they're still relevant. Well, a lot of people have said, well, no, not really, because you want to get rid of characters that had so much of a heartfelt arc to the story. And then some people just have that point of view about The Simpsons that, that was really a 90s thing. And when the 90s were over, it should have just ended when the 90s were over at the, gracefully, and then moved on to, hey, let Futurama take over, right? But no. So anyway, getting back to it, right? So The Simpsons referenced it. So countless other things there's been countless other references to it, right? So essentially, what it is this young woman and her boyfriend, and vignettes of, if you do this, this is the consequence of this. If you don't do this, that's the consequence of that. It's the sort of setting up this existential psychological answer. What is your fate? Depending on what path you take or you don't take, and you gotta meld that out for yourself, right? I mean, so and then you got the Usual Suspects, stuff like that coming out. You got Fight Club. You got Clueless. Coming of age stuff. Even with coming of age stuff, they were taking risk. You don't see that now. And that's what's going on with this Stuart Saves the Universe, where this essentially could just been like some one-off show where we want to see what this character Stuart can be, and I'll make it, I don't know, maybe dark comedy, because Stuart has that deadpan sort of demeanor about him anyway, and then up that, even more so since it's on HBO, because HBO has a lot of different characters that are like that, so it would make a lot of sense. But no, you don't want to take the risk on anything, so you got to say, hey, let's drag in something that's familiar, because we're too afraid of taking a risk, right? And it also has the airs and the appearance of the show called Future Man, right? So me and my husband, we watch this show, and that show, I would say give it a shot if you don't know, if you haven't seen it. I think it's on Hulu. Let me see exactly here. Let's see. Okay. No, it used to be on Hulu, but now when I'm looking it up, it's on Amazon, Fandango, Apple TV, YouTube. So if you want to pay to that, then I would suggest give that a whirl. But anyway, the humor behind it is a lot like that show. To where in Future Man, they really got it right, and it was really cutting edge, because they were, like, at that time they were taking a risk, okay? Because it initially, hold on, let's see, 2017, right? So they were taking a risk, okay? And so I just can't stress enough, if you're gonna be in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of value with that, doing that. And then another good example about the 90s of how it's something, how they're taking risk on something that's already sort of has traction, is The Mask, okay? Now, Jim Carrey, he's, God bless him, he's, kind of went left field there. But, hey, you give the man credit, because he has given such a tremendous amount to the world of comedy. It's something else, his incredible gifts that he's given to the world of comedy. Now, The Mask, the comic, is, wow, it's brutal, alright? And the fact that they took that brutal, gritty, violent, world of it, that's not the main part. There's a lot of different aspects into the comic book of The Mask, but it's rough. And to translate that into a mainstream film, and to even dilute it down more for a children's show, that takes some real gusto talent to make that all work out well. These things were going on in the 90s. And it's just like a roadmap to look at, right? But I don't know. It's just strange, and then and then also I'm going to revert back to the aspects of things that I said when I was which I understood already, but I don't think I really said it that much, but I'm gonna say it now. So I did a series about this really good book called the Advertisement, first. The first, I mean, let me get, oh my gosh. It's the first, because when you do something and when it's over, you don't remember exactly everything. I believe it's the first 200 years of advertising, okay? But the book is really something. I advise y'all to give that a whirl about listening to that podcast of mine there. All right, so anyway, essentially, which makes a lot of sense, which is this, like, in the advertisement world, right? So that started out really early, where, hey, you see something that's successful, I'm gonna latch on to that because I see the success, how successful it is. I mean, let's rehash it. Let's do it, but let's rehash it because it's successful. Let's not try, do something that's a little bit different, because who knows if it's gonna work out. I don't know. That happens a lot in advertisement, and so that's where you see this regurgitation of the same thing being represented with different products and companies, but just subtle, or less subtle, or more subtle, or but it's pretty much presenting you with the same stuff. So, needless to say, I saw the first episode. Now I'm gonna continue saying things, work this in a little bit every week, where like I talk about other subject matters, and then include Stuart Saves the Universe, because it looks like they might be just airing one episode every Thursday, maybe, I don't know. So, I saw it, but it's just, it's lackluster. It's holding on to the fact that, hey, Big Bang Theory. Hey, we're gonna set up of the thing which they talked a lot about with the aspects of Back to the Future, and this aspects of what can go wrong, and when you mess up time, a time warp, and it messes up the present, and for the future to be preserved, and other characters, from the big, for instance, Rajesh is in the first episode, and then I don't know, yeah, if y'all are interested, check it out for yourself. It's on HBO Max, but it's just it's unfortunate, because it's just, you can tell it's just gonna be another one of those things where playing it safe, because why not? Alright, so that's all I have. If you want to continue this conversation, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can't stress enough, comments and questions, concerns, they really help out a lot with the development and the growth of my radio show. I see my podcast as a radio show, more a radio show where, it's more in depth, and I'm not, I'm just saying, like, instead of just this whole haze, just another podcast out there, it's really something that's well thought out. It's not just something, hey, flash in the pants sort of thing, or hey, let me tell you as much tea as possible, or whatever. No, comments really help, and I appreciate so much greatly listeners out there and here at home in America, and all the international listeners is incredible. Thank y'all. All right, so reach out. All right, so that's all I got for this week. All right, so tune in, turn it all the way up. All right, and take care. Bye bye for now.